14 is what it's called. So that's a really, really small opening of light. So all the detail is there, everything in the background. You want to see all of this stuff in the background. It's not the most pleasing background. So if we open that aperture all the way up, as wide as it goes to 1.4, it's going to make everything in the background not in focus. Now, we're going to have tons of light coming in because it's opened all the way. So we'll have to make that shutter speed faster so it's not capturing as much light. And then when you combine those two things together, you get an image like this. The background is more shallow. It puts more focus on the subject, the portrait, the item that you're shooting, the person that you're shooting. And that's where those two things come together. Now, like we mentioned...
So you want to get a new camera, right? But do you even know how to use a camera? Do you even know the accessories that you need to go with the camera? That means that you're like me. Because I was so confused. I got my new camera, but had no idea how to use it. If you want to know how to use your camera, and if you want to know some of the accessories that go with your camera, stay tuned. Let's go. All right, so it may get very tiresome, or no, tiresome is not the right word. It may get very frustrating when you are thinking about getting your camera and maybe you've been watching a lot of videos and you're not even sure which camera to get, but then again, you don't even know how to use a camera. All you know is that you like to use cameras, but you're like, okay, how do I take a picture? Which setting do I put my camera on? How do I do this? How do I do that? I mean, what kind of accessory? I see these guys taking pictures and I see this thing flashing on top of the camera. What is that? Does that even come with the camera? So today, I want to go through some accessories and just some camera basics. Like first of all, there are three main components that you're gonna see on almost any camera or any DSLR. So the cameras that we're talking about are not necessarily the big video cameras, but we're talking about DSLRs. If you want to go into vlogging, some persons use them for streaming, you use them for photography, all those kind of stuff. But you need to know how to use your camera. I got my camera and I had no idea what to do. And if you're like me and you're not too excited about reading through a manual, yeah, you're gonna need to know how to use it. So first of all, we need to understand these three components in a camera. The first one is your ISO, and your ISO deals with how much light that you're actually allowing in your image. So like, for example, an ISO of 100 would mean that you don't have much light. An ISO of let's just say 1200, it means that maybe it's a dark area. And guys, I'm just paraphrasing these things in my words. If you want a definition, I can put the definition and the exact thing down below. I'm just kind of letting you know how I understand it and how I've been able to process it. So ISO deals with the lighting. Just think about that, the lighting. So like, for example, right now we're at an ISO 400 because we have our newer light that's behind us and we have our umbrella light that is literally right here. You can't see it, it's right here. So lighting is very important because lighting is going to be the component that makes you or breaks you. Like, for example, if it's daylight, you don't need an ISO of maybe more than 100. 100 for many cameras is the lowest that you can go with the ISO. I want you guys to stay with me. The lower the ISO, the less lighting the camera needs to produce that amazing image. The higher the ISO, the more lighting or additional lighting which is required. So of course, if you're filming in the night, then it means that you're gonna need a higher ISO because naturally it's dark. Shh. Sorry guys, traffic. So it may be kind of dark in the night, so you're gonna need to put a lot more ISO in your camera in order to compensate for that darkness. But for the ISO, the higher you go with the ISO is the more grains you see in the image. Sometimes you may be watching some kind of videos and it just looks very grainy. It's because they had to turn up the ISO in order to see that image. Lower ISO is going to be the more crisp your image will come out. Moving on, shutter. Now your shutter speed, you're going to see it in your camera in terms of like a fraction. So it's either 1 over 30, 1 over 60, 1 over 70, 1 over 80. You get the point, 100, 1 over 1. Yeah, you get the point. So what happens is that the lower the shutter speed, so like for example, if it's 1 over 30, you're gonna get more light in your camera than if it's 1 over 100 or 1 over 110. So it also helps to figure out, the amount of lighting that actually comes into your camera. And also, if you're taking pictures, it has to do with how long does the shutter on the camera remain open before it's closed. How much light comes in before the shutter closes again and opens again. Guys, I know this is new. Guys. Don't worry. We'll get there together. This is a journey. So, for some cameras, they like for the Nikon, the other component is actually the aperture, and this is very, very important. The aperture, again, it has to do with how much light comes into the camera. Number two, it has to do with like what we call the depth of field. The depth of field just has to do with, like, for example, the difference between you and your background. So like, for example, there's a wall behind me, but in between me and the wall, there are actually lights that are mounted behind me that are actually reflecting on the wall, and that light creates a separation between me and the wall. You see some persons and they're on the wall and they're recording on the wall, and it's like their shadow is there, and it's almost like, it just looks so, I don't know, you just look like you're in love with the wall. I mean, this distance give you a depth of field, and the light allow me to look a lot further from the background. As you can see, it looks better. It comes off better. There are no shadows over there. Are there no shadows? No, there are no shadows. So the aperture has to do with also how blurry your background looks. Now I'm trying to find the right words to describe aperture, guys. Forgive me, I'm trying. So the lower the aperture, the more light you actually allow to come into your camera. Now some lens may go down to an aperture as low, and you always see it in like a decimal kind of fashion, like a 1 point or a 3 point or an 8 point. So look out for those things. So the ISO, the ISO usually starts at like 100 and it goes up to like 2400, 1200, those kind, and you'll actually see ISO, and that just deals with the lighting. Then the shutter, now the shutter deals with how long the shutter actually remains open to actually take a shot, or while you're actually recording. Now the aperture deals with your depth of field. Just think about that. The difference between you and your background, how blurry your background looks, how much you actually stand out from that image. So that is actually your aperture. Now aperture start as low as a 1.2. The lower the aperture can go, it means that it's the easier it is for you to be out of focus. So if you have an aperture of like 1.2, it means that if I move too sudden, I may very well be out of focus. Why? Because the aperture is open only, think about, yeah, because the aperture is only open like to a certain degree. That's the point that you're going to be focusing on. The larger the aperture, it means that you are actually able to catch more in focus. So right now we're at a 3.5. Our last video we were at a 1.8, which means that it was easier for me to be out of focus on the last video compared to this video. So just remember that. And guys, if I'm talking madness, just let me know. I am new to this also, but I'm just sharing with you, you know, what this journey has taught me so far. So if you guys are looking for the standard definition, I'll try and put them down below, but this is how I've come to understand it. So forgive me, I mean well. All right, so that deals with your camera basics. So just think about aperture or f-stop. That's what they call it on the Nikons. Aperture, your ISO, lighting, and also your shutter. ISO, aperture or f-stop, and your shutter. Now, I must mention this. When you're taking pictures, like for example, when you're taking pictures, you don't want to use a shutter that is too low. So like for example, you have a 1 over 30, 1 over 50, 1 over 60. I've found that if you use a shutter that is under 1 over 100, if the person is moving and you take a picture, the person doesn't come out sharp, they come out blurry. Think about that now. Because what actually took place is the time it took for that shutter to close again. So it means that if it's closing too fast, then therefore you're more likely gonna get a blurry shot. But if it remains open for a longer period of time, it allows the person to move and for you to get that shot. That sounded good. I think I did very good on that one. I mean, I feel bright. I feel like a genius with how I just said that a while ago. But anyways, and to wrap up this video, you want to get your camera, or you've got your camera now and you're playing around with it and you realize that you want to do more with the camera and you need some equipment. So I'm just going to walk you through very quickly some of the basic equipments that you will basically this ain't working out. Yeah, here are some of the things that you may need or you will need. First of all, you're gonna need a memory card. Am I in focus, guys? Come on, hold it. Oh. This is a memory card. Now, you're gonna need this when you're taking pictures or taking videos. So this is one of the first things you're gonna need to go with your camera, a memory card. Now, I can make some recommendations down below. I usually like when my memory cards are like between 64 gigabytes to 128 gigabytes. Sometimes because I do a lot of video recording, 32 gigabytes burns out in no time at all. So I'll try to put links down below because putting links is a new thing. All right, guys? The description below. Number one, you need a memory card because that's where your footage is going to be stored. And your camera, when you buy it, your camera is going to ask you, the first thing it's going to ask you for, please insert your memory card. So guys, I want to ensure that you don't go out and buy a camera without buying a memory card. That's the memory card. The next thing that you may need is extra batteries. Now, maybe if you're starting out, you're in photography and you're just starting out, you get a battery with the camera. You can maybe keep going. But if you're thinking about any kind of video recording or extended amount of picture taking, get an extra battery. You're going to need it. You guys remember what happened to me on my first live, my first embarrassing live, when my battery died in the middle of it? Don't be like me. I'm plugged up right now, guys. I'm plugged up. I learned from my lesson. Now, if you're a vlogger, sorry, but my sandwich is getting cold, and that sandwich is an awesome sandwich. Guys, this is intermission. If you want to get to know me, this is my favorite drink. And no, this video is not sponsored by Arizona. But guys, if you want a nice herbal tonic, 100% vitamin C, and tastes good, get you an Arizona. And I know you guys want to know, what is he eating over there? Do you know what this is? This is cornbread burger sausage, cornbread sausage. Now this is actually beef burger, and you have beef patty and you have sausage in there, and then this bread comes from Jack's Bakery. If you're ever in Jamaica, you need to check out Jack's Bakery, Red Hills Road, Jack's Bakery. guys, let's get back to the video. So you need your memory card. If you're a photographer or if you're gonna be taking pictures, more than likely you may very well be in a position that you need to take pictures in the night. Now, every camera, I think some cameras, DSLRs, comes with, one second guys, shh. Some DSLRs actually come with a flash, like a flash, on the camera. Flash, where basically when you take the image, the flash basically, let's just say you're in low light. And you remember I told you about the ISO, guys. The higher the ISO, the more light you actually get in the image. But it can get really grainy as you go up. So you don't want to go too high. I don't usually go above 800 ISO. But if I'm taking pictures, I don't like to go above 400. But basically what the flash does is that it basically allows a burst of flash first before you take the image. So it's almost like it sends the light out so that the light can go on your subject and then you get to take a picture. Almost any photographer will tell you that this flash, most times it's horrible. I don't use it because it just doesn't look good to me. I mean, it comes on the camera to help. Maybe you're a beginner, you're starting out. But I mean, if you want to take really good pictures in low light, get you, boom, boom, an external flash. Now, an external flash just basically docks on top of the camera like this. And basically what it does, when you actually click to take the light, as you can see, you can get the option, the light basically comes out of the camera and spreads. So it spreads on your subject, it gives your subject a more full light, and you can take that image. Or if you want to actually focus the light even a little bit more, look, boom. Flash actually comes with this kind of reflector card, so the flash not only goes up but it goes out towards your subject, and this is based on what you need. But if you're going to go into photography, get you an external flash. You can get this for about $30 US. You get a memory card for like $11 US. You can get, what else I spoke about, you can get a battery for like $23 US. So these things are not expensive, and I'm trying not to focus much on any one brand, because you may want your own brand. I mean, I've used Canons and I've used Nikon, and I love the both of them. So I don't want to force you to make a decision as to which one to buy. Personally, I prefer Nikon for photography and Canon for videography. And maybe if you're doing both, I would go with a Canon if you're doing both. So also, if you're the only person that's around and you want to take pictures of yourself, it can get you a remote for your camera. Almost every camera also uses it. So basically, you just make sure that the camera setting is turned on your camera, and you can be here and start a recording or actually take a picture or start a picture countdown from this remote here. It's not a necessary thing when you're starting out, but in case you want to know. And finishing up the video, this is also talking about lighting. Maybe you can't afford, well, it's cheap, it's like $50 US, but maybe you don't want to walk around with a camera that's on a stand, not a camera, with a lighting that's on a stand. So maybe all that you may need is just a portable light. Boom. Got this for like $20 US. And basically what it does is that it uses batteries, and wherever you're going, and this is for the video lovers now. So the flash is for photography, and this is what they call a continuous light or a LED. And basically, look, oh, this is what they call a hot shoe mount. Hot shoe mount. Most of these little things come with the hot shoe. It's just basically, boom, boom. So let's just say you've docked your camera on a honor. You've dropped your camera on a tripod, which that's critical. We're gonna have to talk about that next. So basically, what you do is that you turn on your light, and what it does, it gives you more light while you're recording. Now, this allows you to drop your which camera basic. It allows you to drop your what in order to get more light in the camera. So if this is giving more light, then what can you turn down on the camera if this is giving more light? You guessed it right, the ISO. Remember, the ISO deals with your lighting, but the higher you go, the more grainy your image becomes. So you always want to keep it as low as possible. This gives you some additional lighting on your subject so that you can turn on that ISO, especially if you're shooting in low light. Think about it. You don't need to shoot with a light when it's day because you already have the light from the sun or wherever. But you may need this when you are shooting in low light and you need some additional lighting. All right. Finally, and I'm actually recording from this tripod and the other tripod is in my bag. You need a tripod. Why do you need a tripod? If you're going to be doing videos, more than likely you need something to keep your camera stable. And that's where Mr. Tripod comes in. And you can get different variations of tripod. I mean, you can get tripod starting at, I don't know, I mean, 20, 30 something dollar US. I've gotten tripods for that money. But just look out for the I think Amazon Basics has tripod, and if you're starting out, it's perfect. It can actually keep you for a while. So, yeah, guys, I think that's about it. More than likely, I think I may have forgotten one or two things, but for right now, I think we've covered the basics of what you need. Oh, if you're gonna be doing videos, you need a microphone. Now, I'm using the lapel mic, which actually it's a cord that runs from here into the camera, or you can actually use one on top of your camera. Boom. You remember what this mount is called? It's called a hot shoe mount, and this mounts on top of the camera just like your flash did. I wonder if I can do a quick demonstration for you guys, because I know for some persons who are watching this, you may have no idea what you're stepping into, but you want to know what this. If you're doing vlogging or if you're doing a video, boom, 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 plugs into your camera, boom. Well, yeah, it plugs into the camera, all right, guys? And that's how it basically works. So you can get sound from here. You can use a lapel mic, or they have the wireless lapels also. And also they have boom mics, which basically it mounts and comes down to a point and you can speak to it. Boom mounts, all right? So I think that covers the basics. Just to recap, remember shutter speed, remember aperture, remember ISO. Those are going to be very important. Your lighting, immediately you go to your ISO. Ensure that things are in focus or stays in focus, especially when you're taking pictures. Ensure that your shutter speed is set to a high enough speed so that it allows you to grab that image. Your aperture or your depth of field, or how blurry your image is, or how blurry your background is. So I think that's about it. When you're starting out, you need a memory card. Get the camera, get the memory card. Get the camera, get the memory card. They work in hand. Camera, memory card. Camera, memory card. Camera, memory card. Remember, if you're gonna do videos, you need your extended battery. You need to get extra battery. If you're gonna be using a microphone, you need to check if your camera has a microphone jack. Not all cameras come with a microphone jack, so you need to check that also. If you want me to do a video on anything specific, just go ahead and send me a go ahead and put a comment down below. Yeah, I try my best not to read any definitions to you guys, because I wanted you to understand that, hey, after a while you're gonna become your own version of your own photographer. you're going to understand it a little bit different. You're going to see shutter different, aperture different, ISO different. But once you understand the basics, I think you're good to go.